Hello, UUCUC. Welcome to day 2 of the Progressive Service Auction Meal. Today, I'm going to really talk about how you would take the delicious sauce that you enjoyed yesterday with your pizza meal and turn that into a wonderful homemade pizza. I'm going to focus in this video largely on the assembly of all of those components, assuming that you've already got a strategy to get a preferred dough, whether you make that yourself or you buy a pre-made crust, a sauce that you have had leftovers, and then you've got a strategy for your favorite cheese and toppings. If you're interested in the toppings that I have, I'll post a recipe for that as well as the pizza dough. So today, right now, we're really going to focus on how you would assemble all of those parts and pieces together. So we'll start with the raw materials. One is you need some pizza dough. So in this case, this is just a lean, about 1/3 whole wheat, 2/3 regular wheat sourdough that I've been proofing in the oven, or in the fridge rather, for about 2 days, that I'll use as the base for my pizza dough crust. Here is a bowl of pre-warmed pizza sauce that you made yesterday and used for your pasta. So nothing magic there, just take it out of the fridge, warm it up. Here is some shredded cheddar cheese. I mean, this looks like to be about maybe half a cup for the two of us. Natalie and I like cheddar cheese. You can use whatever type of cheese that you want. And then for toppings, we're going to use our favorite. We call it the volcano, bacon, pineapple, and jalapenos, which just has a really nice flavor to it. The other things that you'll need for keeping your dough from sticking, in the last year, I've really started using just more all-purpose flour. So I'll have that on hand. If you came to the service auction meal that I gave in the last round, we were using cornmeal, which made the pizza have a really intense crunch on the bottom. So I've since shifted to flour to make that a little more palatable. And then my preference is to assemble the pizza on a pizza peel. So if you have a large flat wood device like this, that would be ideal. If you don't, you can just flip over a baking sheet and use the flat side of a baking sheet, right, kind of this way so there's no lip. That way you can slide that right into the oven. The last piece that you don't see yet, but is also going on, is you want to preheat an oven to blisteringly hot. I have my oven preheated to 450. You might have just heard the ding. And in addition, in there, have whatever container you're going to bake your pizza on. So I have a baking stone. I put that in when the oven was cold, and then I let it heat up to 450 so the stone can absorb the heat and not crack. If you don't have a baking stone, that's fine. You can use a cookie sheet or any other large, flat, heat-stable component. So those are all the raw materials that you need to assemble the pizza. I'll now move them out of the way so that I have more working space for you to focus on the assembly process. Okay, so now, with fewer distractions, our first step is just going to be to put a liberal amount of flour on the pizza peel itself and kind of smear that around. That is important because if you don't get a good coverage of flour on your peel, then your dough is going to stick. And if you have sticky dough, everything's just going to fall off and you're going to have a mess when you get it into the oven, right? So liberal sprinkle, maybe a 1/4 cup or so for a 2-person set of dough. Step number 2, spread your pizza dough into a disc. All right, so I'm just going to peel it off my plate. If your dough's been sitting proofing at room temperature, you might have kind of a sticky side that was down and a less sticky side that was up, at which point flip it over and put the sticky side down again to help your dough not stick to the peel. I don't actually have the skills to throw it up in a circle like you see in the movies, so I try to peel as best I can using just my hands, and then when I get it open a little bit, I actually set it onto the peel itself to move it into something approaching a disc. I wouldn't worry too much about making a perfect circle because, commercial pizza companies get a perfect circle. If yours is a little less perfect, that way you'll know it's homemade. The key here is as you stretch it out, you'll notice that periodically I give my dough a wiggle, right? And I wanna make sure that it slides and there's no sticking spots. If you did find a sticky spot where the dough wasn't coming off the peel, you'd wanna pick it up and throw some flour in there, right? Just kind of like that in order to make sure that it comes off the peel. And we'll do that check again before we put it in the oven. All right, so now that you have your dough, you want to add your sauce. Right, so give it a nice mix. This has been pre-warmed so it doesn't slow down the cooking process. I like to just glob the sauce on in a few major locations, like so, and then very quickly and efficiently just spread with the backside of a spoon. So if you frosted a cake, it's kind of the same way. Add a lot of frosting, move it around. In theory, you could even take off the extra if you had too much. So you get a nice even coverage. I like a pretty thick covering of sauce because that's the veggie part of the meal. If you like less sauce, just add less sauce. Any amount of sauce that works for you will work for me. There's a huge debate whether the cheese or the toppings go on first, but we like to put the cheese down first so that the toppings don't cause it to slide when you eat it. So just take your cheese, sprinkle around your pizza like so till you get the coverage that you want. We're using cheddar. Mozzarella is good, French's mozzarella is good, pre-shredded is good, grate it yourself is good, whatever kind of cheese you like is good. If you don't want cheese, you could do pesto, you could do Alfredo sauce, you could do other you could do other things like that. If you wanted to balsamic, you could add more punch that way. Finally, toppings, right? So we're going to add our bacon, jalapeno, pineapple toppings. You can obviously put whatever you want, meat or no meat, yeah, pre-cooked or raw, however it works for you. Personally, I like to have my toppings pre-cooked because I think eating, raw peppers or raw onions or something like that on my pizza is just less appealing, so I always pre-cook them. And then I just spread around with the spoon. You can see that we're pretty heavy on topping and light on cheese, but that's just how we like it. And that gives us a nice, even coverage for our pizza. It's a good time to clean the hand. There we go. Now this is an important spot for a checkpoint. You want to make sure that your pizza still slides, so you pick it up and you give it a wiggle. And I can see that it's wiggling almost everywhere except this edge right here. So I am actually going to just add a little more flour to that side to make sure that I get a nice good wiggle, and then retest. Yeah, so now my pizza dough is behaving better. Good. So now it's wiggled. UUCUC, this is where the magic is going to happen. Basically, I now have an oven that's been preheated to 450 degrees. It's been there for about 10 minutes, which means it's blisteringly hot. I have my pizza ready to go into the oven, still nice and jiggly on the peel. And so basically, I'm going to open it up, slide it onto my stone, and let it in to bake for 12 to 15 minutes. So we open it up. I don't want to waste a whole lot of heat. You can see my stone there glowing under the coils. You just want to set your peel about halfway in a decisive kind of movement. Just set it down and jiggle, jiggle, jiggle till it comes off. All right, that's all you need to do. Set your timer for 12 minutes and check it and see where you end up. That should start smelling amazing in about 6-7 minutes. You can check it with the oven light to look for that nice bubbly cheese. And then as soon as the crust is as done as you want, you are ready to go. Welcome back, UUCUC. After 12 minutes, the pizza is out of the oven and looks demonstrably delicious. So I hope you have something similarly beautiful in your life that you're going to get to cut and enjoy. So then you just need to slice it up and eat it. We actually have a few tools in our house to do that for various ways. One is this super wonderful bike-themed pizza cutter with a wheel that actually turns. which is pretty cool, and in theory could be used to cut the pizza. Unfortunately, it's not quite powerful enough to really get good leverage on cutting the pizza. So my preferred tool is this rockable pizza cutter, and that will make much better work out of cutting the slices. You can just go right down into the cheese and push. I need to stand to get some better leverage. Down to slice yours up. If you've got a really nice crust, it might actually take some pushing. That's okay. And then cut your next pieces at whatever angle you would like. If you're lucky, by the end, you will end up with a delicious slice of homemade pizza of your choice. Thank you so much for tuning in to Pizza Making, Day 2 of the service auction. Coming up in the third installment will be a chicken parm using this sauce. And then if you pre-made bread dough and you'd saved half that dough, you could also bake that and eat it as your carb accompaniment to the protein. Thank you.